A couple personal things. Been making some progress in some forms of life, right? So that's kind of what my main objective with this YouTube is, to put my vlogs into a space where I can actually measure our progress, because we've got a long road ahead of us and we have big dreams. And I think that around my age, anywhere from 25 to 30 is where your dreams start to die and you give in to the man. So here's to the fight, my friends. First of all, I wanted to say how proud I am of my wife, because she has taken on some pretty big life changes lately, and how she's responded to them has made me proud. Like, they're really exceptional, and you'd hope that anybody, when they fall into kind of these slumps in life, that they pick themselves up, that they have the right attitude. But that's not always what happens. And I've witnessed people, especially in a place like Las Vegas, where, you know, you live to work and you more than you work to live, and people lose their jobs, people fall into depression and alcoholism and drug use, relationships go down the toilet, their health declines, and some people pick themselves up, and not everybody does, because I have witnessed people that could not get back up, and ended up, you know, passing away from depression, I feel, over losing their job. So for my wife to have gone through what she's gone through, where she is someone who takes so much personal pride and includes in her identity that she is a hardworking person, to start to divide work from her personality and who she is as a human, she's done a really great job. You know, over the past month, she started to go to Muay Thai again. She hasn't had to be on any Adderall, and I personally like her better without Adderall, and now she's just been on antidepressants. The perk with Adderall is it helps clear your mind. For some, that's the feeling that they want. For some people with ADHD, that helps them in life. You know, they feel like maybe things are too chaos, maybe they're overly stimulated. So Adderall helps slow those things down and take in these sensory experiences one by one. For my wife, the big motivation for her was she wanted to fit into an office environment much better. And as someone who has worked in an office a lot longer than most of my peers, you're sitting at a desk and you're staring at a screen for 8 hours. If you're not overly passionate or dedicated, or if you're just having a bad day, sitting there for those 8 hours can be really grueling. For someone with ADHD, you know, I went into my office as an intern, and you know, I didn't find this out until my wife said it to me, but she believes that I have ADD. And when I was in the office, I had asked my supervisor, you know, can I get one of those aerobics balls, because I kind of feel like the activity, or just kind of like the movement, would help me focus more. They recognized it as a liability, so they could not approve it. And when I asked for a stand-up desk, they said that, well, if they bought one for me, they'd have to buy one for everybody. When I asked if I could buy one by myself, they said that I really shouldn't, because it should be on company expense. So, you know, I kind of hit a brick wall with, this is kind of something that's in my personality, in my body, and I'm trying to find ways to work around it to fit into this environment and perform the way I want to perform. But it is an office environment, you know, like if you're somebody that performs or focuses really well with music going, or if you're somebody that has to constantly eat while you're working on something, any little fixations that you have, an office environment doesn't make a lot of room for that. And I think that my wife taking Adderall in order to be more of something that she knows that she's not, in order to fit into somebody else's standard, it's really unfortunate that she couldn't have just been herself. Because I completely see where when I'm trying to be myself, it doesn't fit into an office environment. There's these little mannerisms and etiquettes of how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to talk, and that's a lot of pressure, because to sustain this high professionalism amongst people that are maybe the only people you're going to talk to all year, or that week, because those are your coworkers, and if you're really dedicated to your job, they're ultimately your friends. But you lose these personal pieces of you where you could normally share it with a friend, where you would want to confide in somebody. But at work, everything has to be professional. Because there's always the fear of you don't know who you're going to offend. You don't know who's really your friend, who really cares about you, what people are after from you. And it's a tough environment to navigate. And the truth is, not a lot of people, and more people I feel with the change in technology, are not office-bound people. So for my wife to have gone from this insanely toxic environment to no longer really needing her ADHD meds, which her doctor even said to her today is basically like meth. Like, if you're somebody that doesn't need it, it's like you're taking meth. And it's a high for some, and it's supposed to be helpful for others, but what that helpful standard is doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best for you. Like my wife, I love her beautiful and crazy brain. So her being off her Adderall is amazing for me. It's like my days are full of excitement. She feels much more present, and she seems really passionate about her things again, which was lost in the translation of, like, you're being focused on this job, you're after something, and you lose that identity. So I'm glad that coming out of this office space, she's got herself again, that she's full again. Going to Muay Thai, and then she comes home, she cooks and she cleans. It's like her energy levels are balanced again. Her mental activity is much more coherent. And even though, like, with ADHD, she has almost these, like, sporadic temper tantrums. That's what I call them. They're a tantrum. And for a normal person, you could kind of whittle your way out of it using, like, rationality or, like, logic. Like, what are you actually angry about? Was it because you don't have control of the situation? Are you, do you have a right to be angry about this? And with ADHD, it's not really like that. There's these spikes and these heights, and there's these lows of dopamine levels. When my wife gets into a dopamine low, I'm trying to help her kind of stop and rewire her brain when she starts to feel this, like, this itch of agitation or anger or anything, to just pause for a second, recognize that it could be just a drop in her dopamine levels, and what is something that she can do, an action that she can do, which will help increase her dopamine levels. So what I'm telling her now is, whenever you start to feel this temper or this irritation or this anger, go for a quick walk, be out in the sun, go put your feet in the grass, go be a human being, and when you return to those thoughts that made you angry, you're probably going to feel a lot better and can think a lot better without the emotions behind it. And hey, like, everybody's brain chemistry is made up differently. And I think that sometimes it's meant to be that way, but you have to allow yourself to understand it and go through the process of letting yourself be who you are. And finding an environment where you feel happy being yourself. Because it's really damn hard pretending to be somebody else and doing something that you only half care about. And then that's the rest of your life. You didn't spend it being whole. You didn't spend it being happy. You spent it working and pretending to be what other people wanted you to be. So I hope you go on with your day. I hope you have some great fresh intakes on the world around you, and maybe your friends with ADHD, or your partner with ADHD, or anybody that you know that may be taking Adderall, or anyone who's lost their jobs. Just reach out with some kind love and, give them a hug if they like hugs. Don't touch them if they don't want to be touched. Just try and listen and be there for the people that matter. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found any value in anything that I said, please consider dropping a like. Subscribing would be awesome and deeply appreciated. If you'd like to leave a comment, share your experiences with having ADHD or ADD in the office, or someone that you know, or maybe it's not even in an office. But I really appreciate you giving the time to hear me out. So, small steps make great strides.